While the start of the weekend has been very interesting so far with some really two good matchups, especially the first one, Titans versus Chiefs, which I don't think most people expected to be that interesting of a matchup. I mean, the fact that the Titans upset the Chiefs in Arrowhead Stadium is definitely a statement win by the Titans right there. And it's definitely a good part of wild card weekend because a lot of times, I've heard last year in the 2016 playoffs, the best playoff games, or maybe the two best playoff games last year, were the Packers Cowboys and then Patriots Falcons. But Patriots Falcons is technically a Super Bowl. Other than that, the rest of the playoff games were pretty much crap. Well, maybe Steelers Chiefs last year, but overall, it's been a pretty good start to the weekend when you have that Titans upset right there. And when it comes to the Titans upset, I'm going to start with that one first. Is you look at Andy Reid. Andy Reid definitely did not have a great game, but I mean, he just didn't give it to Kareem Hunt in the second half. That fourth down play where they just chucked it deep when in reality all they needed was a field goal to win right there. I'm like, maybe you should throw it up the middle somewhere. Just maybe. I don't know. It's a possibility. Side probably did not hit Andy Reid right there, and obviously Andy Reid is a quality coach in the NFL. And then when you look at the Titans side, I mean, they seem pretty much buried. And when you saw the Chiefs rolling, you're like, okay, the Titans are out of this one. And Marcus Mariota, who did not have a solid year at all, this was by far his worst year as a pro. I mean, he's thrown more interceptions than touchdowns and whatnot. It was just a bad year. But ideally, he actually had his moments. Obviously, he had some of his poor moments early on in the game. That interception to Marcus Peters. Yes, I know it's Marcus Peters, but you can blame it on the route concept all you want, John Gruden. That's just not a very good decision on Mariota's part right there. And then when you just and some of the times where he just didn't make that good throws and all of that. And I thought sometimes where he did make a very, very good throw to Eric Decker. I thought that one was like, wow, made a legit throw. And I never had my criticism with Marcus Mariota was never with his clutches. I've never said he was not clutch. I mean, he hasn't played a very big game. This was his biggest game. At least he made the biggest throw of his career was to that Eric Decker who redeemed himself because early on in the game he had this embarrassing drop right there. And since it's colder out, I mean, I know it's freezing. It's freezing where I am right now. I mean, like right now, if I would walk outside, it's like probably like it's below zero probably if I were to walk outside right now. So yeah, not the most enticing or most not the ideal conditions to play football and whatnot. Obviously, when you get to the Falcons Rams games, those are more ideal conditions, or at least conditions where it's a lot nicer to play. But overall, when it comes to the Titans game, I mean, I think the Chiefs kind of blew it, and the Chiefs really, they just need to start winning playoff games. I mean, the last time they won a playoff game was against Houston in Houston. I'll give them credit there, and that was back in 2015. But that was like a team that went through a quarterback carousel and all of that, and I believe J.J. Watt got hurt during the game, so obviously it was not a very good opponent right there. I think they also blew one against the Colts. Colts in 2013. So the Chiefs, they just don't know how to win the playoffs. They just don't. I'm not sure it's with their roster because I think most people like their roster as a whole and whatnot. It's just these little moments where they just screw up so much. Maybe they need to look at a new offensive coordinator because, listen, look, I wouldn't fire Andy Reid, but I would look for a new offensive coordinator. And when it comes to Alex Smith going for a new team, hey, I'm no big Alex Smith guy. I'm not a big Alex Smith guy. And listen, look, a lot of people look at the season and say, well, he had a great season this year and all that. I just really, really feel as if that, he's still not that clutch of a quarterback. I mean, the Chiefs surround him with all this talent and ideally 26 touchdowns. Yeah, that's nice, but maybe if you give it to like a guy like Cam Newton or Russell Wilson, you give him that kind of personnel. Maybe those guys are throwing for 30 touchdowns versus Alex Smith. He's only throwing for 26. I'm just saying right there. But ideally, obviously, Alex Smith, good quarterback. I just don't think. I think a lot of people either overhype him because they think he's underhyped and whatnot. Yada, yada, yada. Not a big fan of him. Click the video down in the description. Also, I've been very critical of Marcus Mariota. Click the link in the description for that video too. But overall, when it comes to the Titans-Chiefs games, it's just, oh crap. And also, we can't just forget to mention, I mean, the Titans had to pull off some miraculous way to win. I mean, they kind of did with Marcus Mariota catching a pass to himself that went for a receiving touchdown. It was like the first time in 20 years that's ever happened. I remember seeing something similar to that before. Matthew Stafford did the same thing back in like 2011. He threw a pass that ended up going that got deflected. He catches it, so it's technically a pass to himself. He ends up getting like a couple of yards out. That obviously wasn't a touchdown. It wasn't in a playoff game, but obviously, I've seen it before and all that. Now the next one I kind of really want to talk about is the Falcons-Rams game. And when it comes to this and all, I find the Falcons and Rams to be very similar. And ideally, I really wanted to pick the Falcons here, but I had this theory of the Rams, which I'll get to a little bit later. And I also might make a separate video just to talk about it. But when it comes to the Falcons and all that, I mean, obviously, I'm not a big fan of Matt Ryan, as you all know. And then I look at Jared Goff, I think Jared Goff's like another Matt Ryan. And I was just kind of thinking to myself, well, and like logic originally, I'm like, well, the Falcons would win this game simply because, well, Matt Ryan's an older version, more experienced version than a Jared Goff. Jared Goff's kind of like a younger Matt Ryan. He wouldn't be as successful, and ideally, he would win the game. But the reason why I had this series was I have a theory that Sean McVay is going to be the offensive version of Rex Ryan. I think that the Rams are going to have 2 real good years where they'll make it back-to-back NFC conference games, but then they'll just fall off and all that. And I had an interesting theory, but that's what I deal with, and that's why I ended up picking the Rams. And obviously, the Falcons won by 2 scores. Now, when it comes to this game and all that, the Falcons, obviously, offensively, it took them a little bit while to get adjusted, obviously, not until later in the game. Started kind of getting more adjusted and all of that. Definitely when the Rams defense felt kind of tired and all of that. And so the Rams played a good game. And then defensively, Rams didn't back down. I wasn't really scared. I knew the Rams defense was going to be good and all that. The Falcons defense was going to be good all of that with the draft pick and all of that, and how they played in the playoffs in last year. Even though, obviously, last year we all know about that 28-3 game and all of that, but I've talked about that. They changed their identity to play in that Super Bowl, and they played for 44 minutes, which is a lot of time on the football field. So that's why I've been a big fan of the Falcons' defense and all that. And also Dan Quinn. He has a good resume when it comes to coaching defenses. And then when you put this all together and all that, it's just with the Falcons is they got a nice win, and obviously having Desmond Trufant or Robert Alford there helps them a lot. Can the Falcons make it to the Super Bowl? No, probably not. But will they make it to the NFC Conference Championship? Yeah, probably. I think they're gonna face the Eagles next week. Let's just say if they face the Eagles next week, I got them beating the Eagles. I really don't think they got a corner to cover Julio Jones out there. I think Julio Jones can really go out there and really do well against unless the temperatures are really bad, then maybe the Eagles win, but I got the Falcons in that game. I do. And but when it comes to it all, I think I really want to talk about the Rams and all that. And I just find the Rams just to be a soft team. I always viewed them to be a little bit soft. And when I kind of made the comparison of the 2017 Rams to the 2009 Jets, were to be like this team with kind of like this swagger and all that. I mean, you might have seen the NFL Network thing with Michael Silver was interviewing Jared Goff and Sean McVay about how like they're talking about their plays and all that, just kind of like just acting like, oh, we're the cool, kind of similar to how just kind of Rex Ryan, how he kind of carried himself. Obviously, Rex Ryan carried himself it's a different way, but I think Sean McVay, I think he does have a little bit of the ego. I think he does. I mean, a lot of these coaches do, but I definitely think that his ego might be a little bit larger because he's definitely on the young side and all that. But when it comes to the Rams, though, I definitely think them as a soft team. I mean, Sammy Watkins, he's a soft receiver. I really look at them as soft because if you really look at it at the day, it's just he had like a drop where Deion Jones, yeah, he was playing physical with him, but Sammy Watkins should have caught that. And then there's one play against Robert Alford, and yeah, sure, it was near the end of the game. Sammy Watkins kind of just let a ball kind of go through his hands. Ideally, he didn't even put it there. I'm like, Watkins, listen, look, a lot of people talk about Watkins had a lot of great ability coming out of the 2014 draft, saying he has great hands, he's fast, he knows how to run routes, yada, yada, yada. I'm just thinking to myself, this guy is soft. I mean, with wide receivers, you don't really want to have soft receivers. I mean, I'm critical on Odell. I'm not sure if Odell is that soft, but Watkins looks soft right there, and that's why he's been kind of a disappointment, seeing how big and hype it is, how guys like Odell Beckham Jr., Mike Evans, and Kelvin Benjamin have all had better careers than what Sammy Watkins has did. But obviously, he's found a nice home. And also, Robert Woods is pretty soft, and then Pharrell Cooper, he's pretty soft, and then you can't rely on Cooper Kupp. I mean, I don't see really too much toughness in him, but ideally, Rams need a tight end. They really do. They do need a tight end. They need a big body. They couldn't score in the goal line. I mean, their goal line offense is literally Todd Gurley. If you try to pass it into a running back, you're kind of in a tricky little spot to try to pass it into the running back. It's not an easy thing to do. It really is not an easy thing to do. So that's definitely something to look at. And I just feel as if when it comes to the Rams and all that, when it comes to McVay, why didn't you pull out Pharrell Cooper over? You really should have just put a new guy in there to be your return man. And how it comes to the returns and all that, if he gets hit in the end zone, just kneel it down. Just kneel it down and take the 25 yards, because the 25 yards is pretty darn good field position. So, I mean, with Pharrell Cooper, I mean, he played pretty scared out there. I think they should have benched him and all of that. But when it comes to this and all, the reason why I'm not jumping on the gun like Sean McVay is this great coach, even though he's more than enough deserving of probably the win coach of the year, him and Doug Marrone. But my issue is he strictly focuses on the offense. Wade Phillips is a great defensive mind. He focuses on the defense. He really does. I mean, when it comes to this and all, I mean, he coached the 2015 Denver Broncos defense. That defense carried the team, and that's a phenomenal defense that he did coach there. And now he's the defensive coordinator and all of that. So you put that in perspective. And also one thing about it is Jeff Fisher, who I do not. And I'm gonna give Jeff Fisher props here, but that does not mean he deserves to be head coach. He absolutely does not deserve to be head coach, because he has no clue how to handle athlete. Absolutely no clue how to coach it off. It's pretty self-evident with Jared Goff's play and Case Keenum play, which I'll get a little bit more later in the video. But ideally, he coached up the defensive line and all that. That wasn't McVay. He coached up the defensive line. That defensive line was always dominant. If you look at the special teams, that special teams for the most part has always been dominant, except for maybe Pharrell Cooper. But look at Pharrell Cooper out there. Yeah, I know he won the All-Pro, but he didn't look so good out there and all that. But the special teams was definitely coached by Jeff Fisher. Jeff Fisher knows how to coach special teams and whatnot. To Jeff Fisher's respect and all that. I mean, listen, look, when Jeff Fisher was coaching the Rams, he got an extension, which I did not agree with. It had to take from Eric Dickerson to tell the Rams that you need to fire this guy to actually get him fired. However, the reason why they probably signed him is because he probably did some things right. And one of those things right was coaching up that D-line and definitely coaching up the special team. And that gives credit to all Jeff Fisher. When it comes to Sean McVay, I give him all credit to the offense. But however, when you look at his offense, the one guy I give him 110% credit for coaching is absolutely Todd Gurley. How Todd Gurley looks, he looks absolutely phenomenal. That's all Sean McVay right there. But when it comes to Jared Goff and all, that's what you kind of expect from a first overall quarterback. And when you look at Sammy Watkins, I mean, that's what you kind of expect for Sammy Watkins, especially from his Buffalo days. And trust me, Sammy Watkins finally got and Jared Goff's the best quarterback he's been thrown to. I mean, Tyrod Taylor, E.J. Manuel, or no, Bitz Taylor. Tyrod Taylor's better than E.J. Manuel, but not the most stellar of quarterbacks. So, and Andrew Whitworth was signed in free agency. So, how much credit do you have to give to McVay? And I'll get to the Rex Ryan comparison in a moment. But also, when you look at Case Keenum, once Case Keenum got away from Jeff Fisher and went to the Minnesota Vikings personnel and coaching under Mike Zimmer, who's a defensive-minded coach, Case Keenum, some people have said he's an MVP candidate. Even though I don't think Case Keenum was an MVP candidate, he's been playing pretty darn well, and obviously, and all that. So, gotta give him some credit right there. So, maybe it's more so of how bad Jeff Fisher was with the offense, more so than how good Sean McVay is as an offensive mind. And when you look at Rex Ryan and all that, Darrelle Revis, when he was with the Jets, you look at Ryan. Before Ryan, you have Mangini. Mangini coached up the Brickashaw Ferguson and Nick Mangold. And then, obviously, when he inherited the Jets, he had a pretty good offensive line. He did. And also, Mangini, he coached up Darrelle Revis a lot of the time. And not only that, they also assigned Antonio Cromartie in free agency. So they had all these guys that they kind of brought in, or they were just coached from other guys. So, obviously, when the Jets started to falter and all of that, a lot of times things happen like when Revis got hurt, he didn't know how to adjust. Antonio Cromartie, he wasn't obviously a guru of the secondary, it felt like. And when it came to the offensive line, like when D'Brickashaw Ferguson or Nick Mangold went down or something like that, he had no clue what to do or how to fix them and all that. And it's just kind of like this. To a certain degree, Rex Ryan, maybe they weren't super stellar, but he definitely did inherit a little bit. He did inherit a good amount of stuff right there. I mean, he did. I think a lot of people forget about how much Rex Ryan inherited. I think Sean McVay, I think he has inherited a lot of stuff. And listen, look, I've been trying to make that video, and I think I'll get into more details later on, all that. And I think that's definitely something that's definitely consideration. But overall, I thought this weekend of playoffs would definitely kept me interested, much more interested than last year. God, last year Brock Osweiler versus Connor Cook, barf right there, like ugh, disgusting. And the other game that was on that Saturday, I don't even freaking remember, to be honest with you, on top of my head. But overall, guys, what do you guys think of the playoffs? Obviously, with my predictions and all that, I got both of them wrong. I know, tear. Very sad, I know. But I'll live. I'll move on. Hopefully, I'll get them right tonight, but or tomorrow, or today technically. When I'm making this video, it'll be today. But hey, it is what it is. But all right, guys, just comment down below what you thought. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.